talk about the new iPhones a little bit today and the coming of iOS 7, which will be released on the 18th of this month. And I'm going to show a few videos. But first, before I start that, how many of you have seen the videos or the presentation yesterday that Apple made?
You just had it up.
Yeah, well, he only had on 2 minutes. It was an hour and a half. So a few of you have seen it. Okay. So this will be a little bit of a repeat for you all, but let's watch a video of the new phones. Okay. This is the lower phone. Is this on, George?
It was.
It was.
Yes, it's on.
Okay, now watch video.
The iPhone 5C is in many ways the distillation of what people love about the iPhone 5. It's simpler, more essential, yet it's more capable and certainly more colourful. We believe the iPhone is an experience that's defined by hardware and software working harmoniously together. We continue to refine that experience, dramatically blurring the boundaries between the two, making it more powerful, more intuitive, and ultimately more useful. iPhone 5C is beautifully, unapologetically plastic. Multiple parts have been reduced to a single polycarbonate component whose surface is continuous and seamless. I think that designs with a real coherence are the result of developing form, material, and color in unison, each element informing and in many ways defining the other, creating a significant and a meaningful design. Just as with its appearance, we took the same fanatical care with how the iPhone 5C feels in your hand. That sense of quality and integrity that's synonymous with the iPhone. That meant developing the design by creating a whole new structural architecture. It starts with a single piece of polycarbonate, into which we install a steel reinforced frame, creating a bespoke assembly that doubles as an antenna. We then add the rear plate. We then machine holes for the buttons, ensuring perfect alignment. And then the entire assembly goes through multiple finishing processes, including a clear lacquer hardcoat that creates a durable and incredibly glossy surface. This whole process culminates in an extraordinarily rigid structure and a solid, dense feel that you would not expect from a plastic product. From the beginning, we wanted to design cases as colorful and as well made as the iPhone itself. The soft, matte, microfiber-lined silicone is a very intentional contrast to the glossy, hardcoat finish of the iPhone. The result is a case that extends and complements the product while offering dozens of colorful combinations.
iPhone 5C is built on a foundation of features that people know and love. Like the beautiful 4-inch Retina display, blazing fast performance and console-level graphics from the A6 chip, the 8-megapixel iSight camera, and an impressive battery life. And now, we've added more LTE bands than any other smartphone in the world. And we've given it a new FaceTime HD camera for even better FaceTime calls and self-portraits. Beyond that, it comes with iOS 7, which includes new features like Control Center, AirDrop, and iTunes Radio, Combined with a ton of other great features, iOS 7 creates an experience that's even simpler, more useful, and more enjoyable. iOS 7 is designed to complement the iPhone 5C beautifully. The wallpapers are color matched to the exterior, and the translucency inherent in iOS 7 carries this color through everything you do. This is just another great example of how we design and engineer our products in concert. It really is the only way that we believe provides the right experience.
I think it's quite remarkable when something feels familiar and yet it's new at the same time. That's the iPhone 5C. It's the vivid realization of hardware and software together in one device.
Okay, so they came up, just one second, they came up with 2 new iPhone announcements yesterday. This is the lower device, which, to summarize it, it's basically the iPhone 5 enhanced slightly with a better front-facing camera and FaceTime capability, and in a plastic case instead of metal, and it's a little bit cheaper. It's called the iPhone 5C. C stands for children. Okay? Now, I finally figured out what the...
Chinese.
Or Chinese. But I finally figured out what the... Now, the other one is called the 5S, and I finally figured out what that S means. S means seniors. That's us. Okay. Now, yes, your question.
Don Hutching.
Yeah, Don.
What does LTE stand for?
LTE stands for, I forgot what the acronym is.
Long-term evolution.
Evolution. Long-term evolution. That has been out on the 5. And all it is it's, we went from 3G to 4G. Now we're going to LTE, which is long-term evolution, which is a much faster over-the-air connection. Okay, and it's automatic if you're with any of the carriers. All of them have it.
Right. Thank you.
Now, I got sort of carried away in showing the film, and I forgot to go through the normal announcements. Anybody here new for the first time? Yes, sir. Your name?
Peter Marsh.
Peter Marsh.
Jerry Rader.
Jerry Rader. Good.
Well, I was here 4 years ago to help this gentleman, and I'm here back. So these are all time great.
Welcome back. I don't
Don will not be here today.
Don is not here today. We normally have Don here, and he has applications. I don't know if anybody else, do you have any applications? No? Well, if you're interested in joining, it's a whopping $20 a year. You get a lot of benefits for that. You get access to our bulletin board on Yahoo, where you can post questions and get answers to some of your problems. You can also research past posts, and I think there's 25,000 of them over the last 8 or 10 years. There's also a website that has several articles on it that are very good. A whole series from Chris Bream, who's one of the lead authors and at Macworld. He's actually podcasted into our meeting, I know, at least once. The other big benefit you get for your membership is access to a service called lynda.com, which is an online service that provides courses that are excellent. That usually costs, to join that, $25 or so dollars a month, or $250 or $350, depending on which you get per year. The club has bought 5 memberships, and if you're a member, you just simply email George. George is right. George is over there, and he'll set you up for a week for free. And they have excellent, excellent courses. Our meetings are generally every Wednesday here at 11:30. Sometimes there's an exception when there's a conflict with the library's schedule, but most 95% of the time they're at 11:30 right here. They go till 11:45. And then the third Monday of the month, we have a meeting here, generally with a guest speaker, from 5 to 6:45. Okay. So I think that's most of the items. The meetings each week. The first meeting, this is a general schedule. The first meeting each month is handled by Jerry, our president, right over here usually, and it's an open question and answer. So he'll take questions from the audience, and he will either answer them or he will get somebody in the audience to volunteer to answer them. But one way or another, we generally answer 98% of the questions right on the spot. The second Wednesday of the month is usually devoted to iOS, iPhone, iPad discussions, and a lot of times I chair those meetings. That's sort of my specialty. When I'm not specializing in doing that, which is a hobby, I work for Merrill Lynch downtown. So that's why I'm usually dressed up and envious of you all who are casual. Okay, then the third Wednesday is again Q&A.
Q&A.
Normally. The fourth Wednesday is iLife type issues, and George generally chairs that one. And then if there's a fifth Wednesday in the month, it's back to Q&A. Now, that's the general schedule. Sometimes it changes a little bit. If you're a member, you get an email of, there's a calendar and it tells you what meetings are what. I generally send out an announcement before this meeting. I'm negligent. I didn't do it this time, which George promptly reminded me of when I came in, but I sort of didn't know what they were going to say at the Apple announcement, so I didn't know what I was going to really talk about.
Mitch,
Yes, Jerry.
as he said, we normally have the schedule. Next Wednesday is a special meeting. It's going to be 11:30, and we're going to do a video conference with Jason Snell. Jason Snell is a senior editor for Macworld, and Jason is going to talk to us about Mavericks. Mavericks are not you people. Mavericks is the name of the new operating system, OS 10.9, which will be released by Apple sometime this fall. I expect it to be late October. So next Wednesday is going to be a video conference with Jason Snell from Macworld, and 11:30.
Okay. Yeah, and occasionally we do have special video conferences. A lot of times George arranges those, and we thank him for that effort. And then we take questions during these sessions. If you have a question, raise your hand, just mention your first name, and go from there.
Oh, by the way, when we do have those video conferences, you are able to ask questions of the speaker. We're hooked in such a way that they can hear us and we can hear them.
And we usually tape a lot of the meetings now, particularly the ones that are podcasted in. So if you miss those, and again, you're a member, you can go to the web and you can view those. Okay, this one is the next one that I want to show. This is the more advanced iPhone 5S. And let's see if we can, if I can find the video for it. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, so this is the more advanced model that they announced yesterday.
iPhone 5S is our most refined iPhone to date. It is meticulously designed, engineered, and crafted. But it's the remarkable innovation inside the iPhone 5S that sets a new precedent. It's not just rampant technology for technology's sake. Every single component, every process has been considered and measured to make sure that it's truly useful and that it actually enhances the user's experience. This care, this consideration extends to how we protect all of the important information that you actually carry with you on your iPhone. It's what led us to create Touch ID.
Your fingerprint is one of the best passwords in the world. It's always with you, and no two are exactly alike. So it made perfect sense to create a simple, seamless way to use it as a password. With just a touch of your home button, the Touch ID sensor quickly reads your fingerprint and automatically unlocks your phone. You can even use it to authorize purchases through our stores for music, movies, TV shows, apps, and books. Setting up Touch ID to recognize your fingerprint is easy, and every time you use it, it gets better at reading your print. It can read multiple fingerprints and read them in any orientation. The technology within Touch ID is some of the most advanced hardware and software we put in any device. The button itself is made from sapphire crystal, one of the clearest, hardest materials available. This protects the sensor and acts as a lens to precisely focus it on your finger. The steel ring surrounding the button detects your finger and tells Touch ID to start reading your print. The sensor uses advanced capacitive touch to take, in essence, a high-resolution image of your fingerprint from the subepidermal layers of your skin. It then intelligently analyzes this information with a remarkable degree of detail and precision. It categorizes your print by one of three basic types: arch, loop, or whorl. It maps individual details in the ridges that are smaller than the human eye can see. It even inspects minor variations in ridge direction caused by pores and edge structures. Touch ID uses all this to provide the most accurate match and a very high level of security. All fingerprint information is encrypted and stored inside the secure enclave in our new A7 chip. Here, it is locked away from everything else, accessible only by the Touch ID sensor. It's never available to other software, and it's never stored on Apple servers or backed up to iCloud.
Touch ID defines the next step of how you use your iPhone, making something as important as security so effortless, so simple. We believe that technology is at its very best, at its most empowering, when it simply disappears.
Okay, so that's the more advanced phone, the one that really replaces the 5, if you have the 5. Or if you're going to step up or whatever. Now, a couple things I wanted to mention on this fingerprint security. I think, and I'm not positive about this, but I think that you will have a choice if you don't want to use the fingerprint technology. You still may be able to use just a code to get in.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, good. That would make sense because some people do not have fingers or are handicapped or what have you. Now, the other thing that was a concern when they first announced this with a couple of my friends, and they were valid concerns, was, well, you know, your fingerprint's all over everything. It's all over the device, it's all over your desk, everything else. Somebody can go and just, you know, you see it on James Bond all the time. They take a piece of Scotch tape and then they get in. This, I am told, and I have read some on it, this type of fingerprint recognition will not do that. It has to be your finger. Have you read this too?
Yes.
Yeah.
It uses RF signaling to actually puts a little signal into the skin.
Exactly. Now, I've also been told that that there's a temperature sensor in there. I have not read this, but my friend said he read it. So if somebody, excuse me, cuts your finger off, they can't use it.
Or if you're dead.
Or if you're dead. Now, it's gonna, or if you're in an accident or something happens to you, which it says that it'll take up to 5 fingerprints. So, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my wife put her fingerprint on mine in case anything happens to me, she can get into my phone, okay? I'll probably put a couple of my prints in, just in case something happens to my right hand. I don't know if I'll use my toe or anything, but that's a thought. Anyhow, it is going to be a very secure system, and they want to make sure it's secure. And I think because on down the road, might not be for a year or two, this is going to be a lot of people's primary way of paying at a restaurant or whatever. I want to mention that. Now, the other thing I want to mention about the advanced model is it has 2 chips in it. It has an M chip in it. It has and then it has the new 7 chip in it, and it has a 64-bit processor. Not to be confused with the size of the model. That has to do with the processor side. And I went through some material yesterday and said, well, that's really overkill. Why do they need that? They're the only ones that have it. I think that they put that in there for things that we don't know that are coming down the road. And one of them that they sort of hinted at is they said this 64-bit processor and the M processor that goes with it is going to be able to pick up a lot of health things and monitoring things when you move and so on. I think that is the lead-in to when they release a watch or some kind of a band, it's going to tie right into all that. That's strictly my speculation, but that overkill 64-bit processor is there for a reason. Did you read anything out of that, Jerry, or have any comments?
I think it is going to enable the high-powered developers to also come up with some significant applications that won't run in the old generation. So I think it's going to help separate a certain set of people from the Android world.
Yeah. Yes.
Carl Faust. Do you think this will also deter theft of iPhones?
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about that because that's very important.
What was that question?
Will this deter the theft of iPhones? Certainly, the fingerprinting would deter it somewhat. Okay. But more importantly, in iOS 7, which I've been using in conjunction with a developer for a couple months now, if somebody takes my phone, normally what happens now, somebody steals your phone, takes your phone, they just literally turn it off, hook it up to their computer and say erase all data and set this up as a new phone, and it's their phone, period. And that's why it's the most stolen item in New York City and San Francisco. And I read an article the other day, and they said within a day of your item being stolen, it's on a ship or on a plane to some foreign country. With the new iOS, this actually happened to me. I had an occasion where my phone was temporarily misplaced. We did find it. Actually in my own home, but the battery was completely dead, and so it was not registering a beep or anything like that. But we ended up finding it. Well, I had gone in and I had erased all of my data, and when I got the phone and started it up, what it said, and this is new, is enter your Apple ID and passcode, because this belongs to somebody else. I don't know if it said this belonged to somebody else, but it was not going to let me or anybody else use that phone unless they entered my Apple ID and my password. And that is what's going to make these things very difficult, if not impossible, to erase and start up as a new phone and deter theft significantly. So they can still seal it for parts and so on, but and I think there's been a lot of FBI, government agencies and so on look at this to see if it's really going to do something, because they've been pleading with the carriers and the developers to come up with something like this for some time to deter theft. And I initially heard a lot of reports that they looked upon this as initially as being a very favorable thing. They had to look into it more, but I haven't read any negative reports about it, so I assume that everybody's pretty happy with it.
I haven't seen anything else.
Have you seen anything, George?
No.
Yeah, so I think that's going to help quite a bit.
But excuse me, but I think law enforcement agencies must still be able to have access to the phone. If a criminal act has been committed and important information is on that phone, and the owner does not give the password out, there must still be a way for law enforcement, and we've heard so much about it, to get that phone very quickly. And I'm absolutely positive and sure that that exists. So they can tell me anything they like about the security. I can guarantee you there's no absolute security. And it would be foolish. I mean, the FBI or CIA, they must have access to the content of the phone quickly. Well, in the case of an emergency, and they have done that in the past, and you can tell me what you like to do, what you've read. I don't believe it. I think there's access available even with a new system immediately. We won't know about it, but it must exist, and they will say for the protection of our country.
I would not.
That's my position.
I would not doubt that.
No.
But I think that that's interesting, and I'll see if I can find more information out on that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
They know everything. Yes.
Mitch, I was just thinking here about it, though. I thought eventually, if this goes through and all phones have a fingerprint, it's a voter ID. There's no way to, other than, at gunpoint, forcing someone to vote somewhere, but instead of going through all this, these issues with voter ID.
Well, yeah, it's a voter ID, but I mean, they have a hard enough time getting laws passed that you have to show an ID when you walk into the voting office, and you got to show an ID to get on a plane. You got to show an ID to do anything. And yet, oh my God, it's the most terrible thing to require these poor people to have an ID. It's crazy. So I think you're a long ways away from that, because there are secure systems out there. I mean, it's pretty secure when you walk up to an ATM and you put in your code and get out money. So it can be done right now.
I know we have to prove voter ID for anything.
But whenever you get into voter stuff, the politicians come out of the wall with reasons to not do it. Yes, Ruth?
Anderson, will this do away with one password?
No. That's a good point.
What was the question?
Will this do away with one password? In Mavericks and on the IRS, they are going to have something that's very similar to one password. But I don't necessarily know that it's going to do everything that one password does, but it also might do a lot of things that one password can't do now because of sandboxing. And that means that, like on your iOS devices, it won't automatically put the password in on Safari and so on. Do you have any comments on that, Jerry?
I think the password in the cloud, I think is what Apple calls it, will work very well with Safari. But it will if you use something like Firefox or any of the other browsers for your browser on your computer. You will not have access to it. So the one password is still going to have functionality and capability that is beyond the password in the cloud.
And the other thing is that I have not seen many details on a password in the cloud, other than it's a password in the cloud. So it's not like on 1Password. I have all my credit cards in there, literally every one. I've got my driver's license in there. I've got my wife's driver's license. I've got my passport. I've got her passport. I've got some special secure notes, 4 or 5 of them that have to do with Social Security number of my children and that kind of thing. So there are I have license numbers in there for software now. Whenever I get a software that has a license number, I put it in there. And they have all those categories now in the new 1Password.
Is that something you buy?
Yes, 1Password is something you buy. And if you Google 1Password, you'll see
Is
it.
that O-N-E or number one?
Number one, as in the number, not O-N-E. Now, I think that might still be on sale. There's two versions of it. One is for all of your iDevices that you buy one time, and that was on sale, and I think it might still be on sale for $8. I don't know. I don't know if it still is or not, but it's normally $18. Now, the one for the computer is like $50 or $55. I would suspect, only speculation, that when they're getting ready to release the 4th version for the computer, they've already released it for these. When they do that, I would suspect that they'll offer a sale 50% off. Don't know. And the way that works for those of you not using that, when you have 1Password, if I change something on 1Password on my iPhone, it immediately changes it on my iPad and on my 2 computers at home. It syncs through Dropbox or now through iCloud, whichever you want to use. So can it potentially do away with 1Password for passwords? Yeah. For all the other things? No, I don't think so. Now, it's interesting, some people say to me, well, why do you have your driver's license on there? Why do you have your passport on there? Well, let me tell you something. If you walk into an airport and you just lost your driver's license, they pull you aside and they start doing an investigation. And if you can pull out your telephone and say, look, here's my driver's license number, here's my passport number, and here's a picture of my driver's license, it'll make that investigation go a lot quicker.
Can you get on the airplane?
Usually you can get on the airplane within an hour of them doing an investigation. Hopefully if you had all that data that you could show them, it would cut that investigation down to maybe a half an hour or so. But they'll eventually let you on. Now, they let me on. I don't know about you. I mean, you look sort of sensitive. All right, now, I saw where they had a film here on iOS, so iOS 7. So if they have that, I want to show that. Let's just see what they have. They might have a quickie. Yeah, watch a video. So here's the iOS 7.
You might want to hit the OK on that.
Be released on the 18th of this month, and this is the one I've been using for some time.
We have always thought of design as being so much more than just the way something looks. It's the whole thing, the way something actually works on so many different levels. Ultimately, of course, design defines so much of our experience. I think there is a profound and enduring beauty in simplicity, in clarity, in efficiency. True simplicity is derived from so much more than just the absence of clutter and ornamentation. It's about bringing order to complexity. iOS 7 is a clear representation of these goals. It has a whole new structure that is coherent and that is applied across the entire system. We've considered the tiniest details, like refining the typography, to much larger ones, like redesigning all the icons. And developing a grid system allowed us to achieve a much more harmonious relationship between individual elements. We've also incorporated a whole new palette of colors. Distinct, functional layers help establish hierarchy and order. And the use of translucency gives you a sense of your context. These planes, combined with new approaches to animation and motion, create a sense of depth and vitality. The iPhone, responding to your movements, drives the parallax to create a whole new experience of depth. In many ways, we've tried to create an interface that is unobtrusive and deferential. One where the design recedes, and in doing so, actually elevates your content. Even the simple act of changing your wallpaper has a very noticeable effect on the way your iPhone looks and feels across the entire system. While iOS 7 is completely new, it was important to us to make it instantly familiar. We wanted to take an experience that people know very well and actually add to it, to make it more useful, to make it more enjoyable.
In addition to the redesigned user interface, iOS 7 comes with some great new features and enhancements. Now, the controls you want to access quickly are all in one convenient place with Control Center. One swipe from any screen opens up a set of useful controls. And Notification Center is now available from the lock screen with a new at-a-glance view of your day. Multitasking lets you jump from app to app much more intuitively. It actually pays attention to which apps you use most and automatically keeps your content up to date in the background. The new Camera app introduces a new level of ease and versatility. Now you can just swipe between modes, from video to still to square, while using a new palette of filters. Your iPhone knows the time and location for each of your photos. The Photos app uses this information to intelligently organize your pictures by clustering them into moments and collections. And now, with iCloud photo sharing, friends and family can contribute their own photos and videos to your shared albums. With over 800,000 apps, the App Store is the world's largest app marketplace. iOS 7 now features Popular Near Me, a new way to find a curated collection of apps based on your current location. AirDrop makes it easy to share with people near you. When you've got something you want to share, AirDrop shows you your contacts close by. Just select who you want to share with, and AirDrop does the rest. And if someone's not in your contacts, they just activate AirDrop and you can send them files too. Safari's redesigned user interface lets you see more of your content, starting with full screen browsing. The unified search field helps simplify searching, and there's a new view for your bookmarks, and also a new way to see your Safari tabs. Siri is now even more helpful and informative. We've integrated Twitter and Wikipedia, and with new male and female voices, Siri sounds better than ever.
Okay, I found this on Wikipedia.
And Siri can assist you in new ways by doing things like changing the settings on your iOS device.
Okay, Bluetooth is on.
iTunes Radio is a great way to discover new music. We've created many featured stations, drawing from the best selection of songs online. it's easy for you to create your own stations. And when you hear something you'd like to purchase, it's just a tap away.
iOS 7 brings with it the most significant changes that we've made to the user interface since the introduction of the very first iOS. To create it, we brought together a broad range of expertise from design to engineering. With what we've been able to achieve together, we see iOS 7 as defining an important new direction and in many ways a beginning.
Yes.
Which AirDrop, as I understand until now, it worked within the Apple system.
Yes.
Is it going to work outside of it?
I am not sure of that. I think it might be just the Apple system. AirDrop, is that just proprietary to Apple devices?
So far it is.
Yeah. Now, I've got one more little video I want to show, but like I say, I've been using this on my phone, not on the iPad, on my phone, for a couple of almost 2 months now. And when I first got it, I thought, it's going to take a minute to figure out what's going on here. Because several key things did change, but like you said in the video, we made things very familiar, which they did. But several key things did change. And I think for our group, there'll be people that get it and they'll say, well, where'd some of this stuff go? And it's all there. It just takes you a few days. It took me a couple days to become very familiar with it and to become comfortable with it. And I like it a lot better. Yes.
John, can you give us an example of a few of those things that changed?
Yeah. One of the things that changed, and they showed it on the video, I can't show it on this, but they show it on the video, and on the existing iPad, when you double click on click on the home button and then click on it again, it goes to a search field, and you can search for things you're looking for. That's now on every page, and you just pull down the menu and you can search from any page. And so that's different. And when I first got it, I missed that on what I was looking and reading about, and I was sitting there for 10 minutes saying, where the hell's the search at? And it was right there. I just missed it. And it's much better to be able to just do that from any page and not leave that page. The other thing that's very different, and he showed that, was when you go to, you used to double click on the home button and it would lift up the menu and show all your applications that were open, and you could go to one, or you could hit them and they would squiggle and you could close all of them. Okay, that's gone.
Oh, it is.
So, yeah, what happens, he showed it. What happens is now when you, I think it's a double click, I'll tell you if it is. Yeah, it's still a double click, but what happens, I don't know if you can see this, but it shows all these small screens, miniaturized. And to close them, you just take and swipe up. Or to go through them, you just go like this and goes to different ones. So that's really different, and I like that quite a bit. It took a minute to get used to. The other thing that's really yes.
Excuse me, Jim Corsica. You said to close them. You mean like when you used to touch the minus sign? Like
Yes.
Jiggling?
Yes.
To close them?
Yes. Now all you'll do, and I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see this, but I'll do it. Like this one right here. If I want to close, I just go like that. It's closed.
Just throw it away.
Yeah. It's closed.
I like that.
Okay. Now, the other thing So that search thing I was talking about, if you just, if I go like, it's like there. See how the search comes up? I don't know if you can see that at the top.
Menu bar.
Yeah, right, that menu bar. So, and that's on any page. So if I'm way over here, you used to have to go to the home page and then go, all I do is just, go like that and it's there. So that's different. And like I say, the frustrating thing is if you get this and you forget where it is, it just takes you a few days to get familiar with where things are. Yes.
Now that gesture used to bring down your notifications.
It still does if you do it from up here.
Oh. Okay.
So if you do it in the wrong place, you'll say, well, wait a minute, where's that search thing at? To do the search thing, it's more in the middle of the page, not all the way to the top.
I think there's going to be a difference in whether you start moving your finger from off the screen onto the screen, or if you start moving your finger inside the screen.
That's exactly right. Now, yes, ma'am.
When do you get iOS 7?
Okay, iOS 7 will be released on the 18th of the month, and I believe it'll work on iPhone 4 and above. iPad.
So you have to download it sometime?
You have to download it. You'll have to download it, and where you'll do that is go to your settings and go to software updates, and it'll be there. And if you don't download it on the 18th, in about a week, a little number 1 will appear on your settings indicating you haven't done it. But we'll be going over that and showing that, I'm sure, when it's available.
So you recommend doing it?
Well, I would recommend doing it, but the next video I show is a group that I just watched this podcast last night. It's an hour and a half, so I hope I don't keep you too long today. No, it is an hour and a half, but I'm just going to show you about 15 minutes of it. And it's where Chris Breen and Renee from iMore and the guy who hosts this show, I forget his name right offhand, they're talking about this change to iOS 7 and how it's going to take people a minute or two to get used to, and should you do it right away. And they, talk about, well, maybe you might want to wait a week or two. Now, I've had it for a couple of months, and they've gotten most of the bugs out of this. I haven't had any problems with it for some time. So, but you might want to wait a while.
Question, I did read several opinions that maybe the iPad release is going to be later than the 18th because the developers were late in getting it.
I thought that was going to be the case because it was more buggy up until about a week ago, probably until about a day ago. And I don't have that, but the developer, the Giacomo, yeah, Dennis, he has it. And we meet for coffee once a week, and it was real buggy. And he just said he just got the golden release yesterday, and he said most of the bugs are out of it now.
Okay.
So, and apparently in the release it said everything on the 18th.
And they did not distinguish.
They did not distinguish.
But
I thought they might.
What I had read the day before said that they thought it was going to be a week later.
And apparently it's not.
Okay.
Could be that'll change, but apparently not. Yes, Jim.
Jim Corsi again. This is just a thought, see if you think the same thing. The last 3 videos have had Johnny Ive front and center.
Yes.
Do you think that's an attempt to sort of assuage the critics because he was so close with Steve Jobs?
No, I always wonder why he's not on stage. Maybe he's got stage fright or something, but he's always on the video showing the iPhones and the stuff, and now he's in charge of all that. He's in charge of not only the phone, but he's in charge of the software as well.
Oh, okay.
So he's been promoted up, so he's over it all. And he's brilliant. I don't know if anybody read I just finished the Jobs biography a few weeks ago, and they talk about him, and he is as far as I'm concerned, he's the Steve Jobs that's left at Apple right now.
and he gets like 13 seconds in the movie version.
Yeah, and the movie was not, if you saw the movie, my take on the movie was that he was portrayed okay by Ashton Kutcher. But the problem is that they left out so much of his life and what happened that was my problem with it. Yeah.
Will the Maverick still interface with the old Lion system?
Yes, I'm sure it will. I mean, what do you mean by interface?
I mean, if I have the old Lion on my main,
You'll be able to update the Mavericks, unless your machine's a real old one. Yes?
Will Linda have tutorials on iOS 7?
I'm sure that they will, but typically they don't have a tutorial for 2 or 3 months. I know last year when they came out with Mountain Lion, Chris Bream real quick came out with a tutorial on here's the new things for Mountain Lion, and then 6 months later he came out with a complete tutorial on Mountain Lion that was very detailed. Those tutorials take some time to make, and so I'm sure that they will, but it's not going to be, I would suspect it'll be a month or 2.
I wouldn't be surprised though if they work a little faster, because we've had quite a few conversations about that with them.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. But I would say that the iControl books will be out probably almost instantaneously to the release. And that would probably be your best bet. And we'll let you know when those are available.
Okay, now I want to show this one more video that I was talking about where they talk about making the change to iOS 7. This is Rene Ritchie. He's the head of iMore. I follow him all the time. There's Chris Bream. And then the host, you'll see him in the middle here. But I'm going to turn this on and just play.
We've had Chris Bream as one of our remote speakers.
Yeah. And Chris Bream, on our homepage, there's a whole series of articles that Jerry has posted there.
Yeah. If you go to, for new people, our webpage is naplesmug.com, and it's got a series of panels. On the tips panel, go to that, and there are right now 49 articles that Chris Green wrote about Mountain Lion. And it starts at the beginning, and right now it's covering things like photo stream. So it's a tremendous resource. While you're there, if you are interested in becoming a member, click on the member page, and there's a way to download a PDF that you can type on your screen and mail it in.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to play this just for a few minutes.
I immediately update when it's available September 18th. You know, a lot of people who aren't paying attention and haven't been going to be very surprised. They're going to jump into it. They think, oh, it's going to be very much like.
Okay, so what they're talking about, I thought I had it back a little bit more, but I'll go back. They're talking about the release of this iOS 7 on the 18th, and should you go to it right away. So here we
go to a bigger screen size because that's the next logical way to increase their market share. I think they've definitely built something here that will be incredibly interesting with iOS 7 and that processor going forward.
I have not used iOS 7 yet. I've only talked to people who've used it. Should I immediately update when it's available September 18th? You know, a lot of people who aren't paying attention and haven't been going to be very surprised. They're going to jump into it and they think, oh, it's going to be very much like the previous version of iOS, and it's not. This is really like a jump from OS 9 to OS 10. At least in terms of the look, people are going to be surprised at what they find. Once you kind of move around the thing, you realize a lot of the stuff is in the same place as it was before, but just the look of it, and Johnny Ive fingerprints are all over this thing. Literally all over this thing. And so I think for some people there's going to be, at least for a couple of weeks, we're going to hear a lot of crying about it in that, well, I can't go back and I don't like this and I don't like the thin look and I hate this pattern and there is no going back. If you upgrade, you're done. and the target seems to be smaller, and why isn't this working the way it used to work? And it's typical of big changes for people, but Apple really has made a statement, and I think Johnny Ive has made a big statement saying, I'm in charge now, not only of the look of the hardware, but the software as well. And I think what the interesting question eventually there is there anybody in Apple who tells Johnny Ive no?
I bet not.
And I think that's an interesting question,
I
because
bet
with
not.
Steve Jobs,
Nobody told him no.
but he would change his mind.
Right.
And the question is, will Johnny Ive, if somebody goes to him and says, I think we're really more about form than functionality in this particular feature, no? And does he just say, well, I've actually been wanting to go back and live in London forever, and I have plenty of money.
See ya.
So
I am a sir,
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. But again, for those people upgrading, be prepared. Do your research. See what other people say, and then
Don't rush.
Yeah, and then see what you think.
Apple, yeah, as we did. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, what you'll get on the radio show, for example, Leo, is things that, a lot of it is facially identical, like all the icons are in the same place. But for example, a lot of people never got the habit of looking for their icons. They would just type something into Spotlight, find their app and press it. And Spotlight has moved dramatically. It's no longer to the left. You now pull down on any home screen to get it. And most people just don't discover that. So if you look at Twitter, a lot of people are like, where did my app search go? Or where did the video camera go? Because the button's not there anymore. So I think initially people will download it. They'll have fun playing with the parallax scrolling. And then they'll try to do something they were used to doing, and they won't be able to do it. And that's when everyone will go flooding onto the internet.
Fortunately, I'll be on vacation for 3 weeks.
Right, well, because they'll want to do the pull down, and then they'll get Notification Center, and they'll say, but where's my search field? Well, you don't pull down there, you pull down here. Oh. Huh. And if I flip up, wait,
I
that's
think I'm going to
different
have
too.
to pay $99 and get the Gold Master on my phone and take it with me so I can at least, when I come back, talk about it.
Okay, so I think you get the gist, and it's just, I hope it was pretty much what I said. When I first got it, it was like, hey, this is going to take a second to get used to, but after fooling around with it for a couple of days, everything became quite apparent. Now, I will tell you that really a good time to download this, unless something happens, will be on October 7th or 8th or somewhere around there, because I am going to do a full presentation on this on October the 9th, right here.
Yep.
So if you have any doubts and want to wait, you might be confused and want to get answers, what I'd do is download it 2 or 3 days before the meeting on October the 9th. And I promise I will be here unless I'm ill or something happens like that, and we'll spend an hour and 15 minutes going through the whole thing and all the secrets, and so you're not as frustrated.
Mitch?
Yes.
Patty, you don't have a protective case on your phone.
Yes, I do.
You do?
It's just so thin and small that it doesn't protect much.
Oh, that's the point.
I just like a thin one.
I do too, that's why.
It is a case.
Oh, we'll protect the glass.
It doesn't provide much.
No, it doesn't provide the glass.
Is it hard?
And this one's actually hard. I actually broke the one I liked, which was a little bit more, it was real thin also, but it had more of a, it wasn't as slick on the back. But I actually have 2 cases on order because I think the cases are going to be the same for the new phone. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the camera's changed it a little bit, but I think the hole is going to be, and actually.
Tile 4 and it didn't break.
But talking about that, I've already sold this phone. I sold mine on, and I made the post yesterday on our website, on Gazelle. Gazelle had 3 categories. Your phone doesn't work. This is an iOS, or this is an iPhone 5, and it's a 64 gigabyte size, so it's the big one. They had 3 categories. The phone is broken. We'll give you $125 for it. The phone is in good condition with minor cosmetic blemishes, which is mine. I have a couple scratches up here and on the bottom. and everything works. And they offered me $335 for it. And the third category was that it was in pristine condition, and they offered me $10 more. So I went ahead and pre-sold it to them, and what they do is, it doesn't obligate you really. They send you a box in the mail. There's three ways to do it. I chose the box. So they send me a box in the mail, and I just have to return it by the 15th of October. And then there's different ways you can accept payment. This all comes up and it's self-explanatory. The first way is you can get an Amazon gift card. If you get the Amazon gift card, which I chose to do because I buy a lot of things on Amazon, they give you a 5% bonus. So I didn't get, I got like, instead of $335, I got $346 or something. The second way you can get it is credited right to your PayPal account. And you sign up for that. The third way is snail mail. You can get a check in the mail. I felt their price was very competitive. I went to AT&T on Saturday, and they looked at my phone and said, we'll give you $310 for it. And that was before the new one was announced, so I don't know if they're still at that level or not.
What site was it?
That was AT&T at the store.
No, the one that you used.
Oh, Gazelle. GAZELLE.com. And then you just push on iPhone, whatever model you have. Yes?
When you go to a carrier, say I go to a carrier and I want to buy a new 5S.
Right.
Can I turn my old one in and get an immediate credit on the new transaction?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, Apple's been
Was that always the case?
Not always the case, but they're doing that now. And the way the guy told me at AT&T.
That's at AT&T. I can do that at AT&T, not at the Apple store, right?
You can do it at AT&T. And AT&T, when I went in and showed them my phone, I was not, on this phone I was not eligible for an upgrade, but I was 12 months into my contract. And they said, well, the penalty for you to get a new phone is $220. Now, interestingly, when I pulled it up on Apple, they just went through, pushed the buttons on what I'm going to pay. The penalty was $250. So they had, AT&T had the up to the month, up to the minute penalty for turning it in. So what that means is if the new phone's $400, I would have had to pay $620. But they were going to give me $310 for this phone.
It's amazing what these phones must be worth overseas.
Oh, it is.
Because if they're giving you $310, they're selling for at least $600.
Yes.
What
Now,
does Verizon do the same?
Verizon will do the same thing. Verizon, I don't know what you'll get at Gazelle, but it will be less. I know my son has a Sprint phone, which is a CMA? CMA, is that what Verizon is?
CDMA.
Huh?
CDMA?
CDMA, yeah. And the CDMA phones that Verizon has and that Sprint has, that network, those phones are not good internationally, and so they're worth less. And like I was talking to my son, and he has Sprint. His is in pristine condition. I put it on, and they were going to, Gazelle was going to give him like $230 for the phone. They were going to give me $335.
So the AT&T is the
AT&T is the best trade-in value.
The protocol that AT&T uses is widely available in Europe and most of Asia. The protocol that Verizon uses is only U.S. and Japan, I think.
Yeah. So that's the difference. And so if you have a Verizon phone, you know, you can go right now to Apple. They're not selling the phones, but you can go into Apple and say, hey, what's my phone worth? And they'll tell you what it would be worth if you did it today. And I don't think it's going to change between now and when the new phone comes out. They'll also tell you at Verizon what it's worth. Now, whether that'll change between now and when the phone comes out, I don't know. And you can also check and get a quote on Gazelle. Yes?
Does Gazelle take like touches, or is it just phones?
I think, go on their site, they take a lot of stuff.
Pardon me?
Gazelle offers trade-ins or purchases most everything in electronic security.
Yeah, they'll do Android, they'll do
And I would assume that Best Buy and
Walmart, I know has
Walmart will be matching those prices.
Walmart is doing a buyback too, so check around. But, you know, a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to get a new phone because I got to pay a $220 or $250 penalty because I've only had it for a year, so I'll wait. Well, if you can give me your old phone and come out even, why not? Yes.
If you're shopping for a phone now, you've got two new choices here. The cheap one, the 5C,
Yes.
and the 5S. What are you missing on the 5C that you get on the 5S?
Okay. The 5C is basically like the 5 now. It has the same basic processor. It's got a little bit better camera mechanism in it, and that's about it. So it's basically the 5 phone that's out there now, okay?
In plastic.
In plastic.
In plastic.
In plastic. Now, the 5S looks exactly like the 5. It's metal. Comes in different colors, but it's metal. And it has the next big upgrade in processors. So it's theoretically they advertise twice as fast with graphics, twice as fast with pulling stuff up on the internet, and it does have the fingerprint recognition, which the 5C does not.
And I think it's got a much better camera.
Oh, yeah, it's got a much better camera, yes.
Much better camera, and if you see the discussion, the camera is extremely smart. It can take 4 or 5 pictures at once, select which is the best one, and present that to you. The biggest, in my opinion, if it's as good as it was described, the 5S is just about killed the camera business. There will be no reason to buy a camera.
A point and shoot. Yeah, unless you're a professional and want a big rig.
One more question.
Yes.
Please. You buy it from AT&T or you buy it from the Apple Store? There are benefits?
There is no benefit. I've done it both ways. If you walk into AT&T and you're trading in a phone, they say we'll give you $300 for your phone, and you walk into Apple and they say we'll give you $250 for it, which is what they told me. I would just do it at Apple, I would do it at AT&T.
Well, they let
Now,
you
if
use it
you
against the new purchase, because I had AT&T said, no, you can't use the phone to trade in and get something in your buy.
Well, what they told me is they said it would be a separate transaction, and they would, I think they would, I don't know if they would apply it toward the purchase this time or not, but if they didn't, they were immediately going to credit your bill, so it was going to go away quickly.
What was that? Who was that?
AT&T.
Now, Apple is what, a gift card?
Apple is a gift card which they told me this time is issued immediately, can be used against the purchase. But I would want to verify that because the guy who told me that I've gotten faulty information from before. So, but I mean, if you go in there and that's what they tell you, just have it verified. But that's what they did tell me. They said it'll be immediately credited toward the purchase. It has to be immediately used for purchase of a new phone.
If you go buy it at the Apple Store, wouldn't you have a better access to in-store training?
No, it's no different. And if you buy it at AT&T or Verizon and you decide you want Apple Care instead of AT&T's care or Verizon's care or whoever's care, You just take it to the Apple store, they inspect it and look at it, and then they sell you the extended warranty for $99. That incidentally is changing. That warranty used to be that they would replace the phone up to 2 times or repair it up to 2 times for any kind of damage for $49. It's now going to be $79. That was just announced yesterday. If you have an existing phone, it's not going up because you're already locked in at the $49. But if you get a new phone, that deductible is now going to be $79. The deductibles are different, like at AT&T, they'll replace a lost or stolen phone, which is great. But it's $10 a month for that instead of $99 for 2 years. And it's a $200 deductible to get the phone replaced. So it's, I guess it would be good if somebody stole your phone, but other than that, it's a little pricey.
Just open your wallet.
Open your wallet. Yes, that's right. More questions on this? Okay, well, I think we're done 5 minutes early.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right, you're welcome.